she said. It's just a trial separation. I just need space. Then I found out she was thinking with someone else. So I moved out, took my piece, and let her come home to an empty apartment. I'm 34, and I never thought I'd hear those words in my own living room. I think we need a trial separation. It wasn't the phrase that hit me. It was the way Rachel said it, steady, almost gentle, like she'd practiced in the mirror until the edges felt smooth. We were on the same old couch where we'd watched dumb comedies on weeknights and mapped out road trips with takeout containers on the coffee table. That couch used to be our planning space. Suddenly, it felt like a conference table. I laughed at first, not because it was funny, but because it felt unreal. We hadn't been at our best lately. Long days, short tempers, and a few tense talks about priorities. But a trial separation? That sounded like something other people did when everything had burned down. We still had photos on the wall and a plant we were both trying to keep alive. She didn't laugh back. Jake, she said, voice low, I just need space. I want to figure out who I am without us. Those two words, without us, hung in the room like a draft I couldn't find the source of. I kept my voice steady and asked what I thought were normal questions. Space from what? Are you unhappy with me? Is there someone else? Her answers were smooth, careful. No, there's no one else. It's not about you. I just feel stuck. I searched her face for anything that felt like uncertainty, something I could hold on to. But there was a kind of calm there that I didn't recognize. Not sad. It felt final, even though she kept saying the word trial. When she went to the bedroom to fold a sweater, I sat very still and tried to listen to the noises of the apartment. The refrigerator hums. A car passing outside. It was all normal, and none of it felt normal. I kept thinking, if we needed space, shouldn't we be talking more, not less? That night, I didn't sleep much. I lay on my side of the bed and watched the glow from the streetlight slide across the ceiling. The word trial kept looping in my head. Was this a pause button, or was it the slow phase out before the exit? I tried to rewind the last few months like a highlight reel, but nothing stood out as the moment everything tipped. Maybe there wasn't a moment. Maybe it was a pile of small things we never cleared away. The next morning, she moved around the apartment with a list in her hand, and the list felt louder than any argument we'd ever had. She named the things she'd take and the things she thought I should keep. She said she'd stay with her sister for a bit. I nodded like that plan made sense, but a phrase like for a bit is soft clay. It can be shaped into whatever someone wants later. Before she left for work, I asked, so what are the rules here? She paused like she'd been waiting for that question. No dating. No talking every day. Just live your life. Let's see how we feel. We'd gone years without missing a good night text, even on nights we were annoyed with each other. Now, silence was part of the plan. I tried to swallow it. I told myself this was mature. Adults give each other room. Adults don't cling. But the apartment was too quiet after she walked out. Her mug is on the sink. Her throw blanket was slung over the armrest. A hair tie by the dresser. None of it was heartbreaking on its own, but together they felt like a list of things that still expected her to come back. I went for a long walk that night, hands in my pockets, no destination. I looked at windows lit up on our block and wondered how many of those people inside were fine and how many were acting fine. When I came home, the couch was waiting, in the same place we'd sat only hours before while we moved our life into a new category. I texted her, I love you. I'm trying. She replied, I know. Thank you. The morning after our talk, I woke up to the sound of drawers opening. Rachel was already moving through the apartment, packing a few things with quiet focus. A half-zipped bag sat by the couch. I stood in the doorway, unsure if I should help or stay out of the way. She looked up briefly and gave me a small smile, the polite kind you give a neighbor, not a partner. I made a list, she said softly, tapping her notebook. Just to keep things clear. I'll take some clothes, a few personal things. You can keep everything else. It's temporary. That word again, temporary. But her tone didn't match it. She was calm. People who plan to return don't make lists. I watched her fold her favorite sweater, the one she wore on our first trip together. So you're staying at your sister's? I asked. She nodded. For a bit. For a bit. It sounded harmless, almost gentle, but I couldn't shake the thought that a bit could easily become a while, and a while could become forever. When she finally zipped up her bag, I asked, what exactly does this look like? Are there rules? She hesitated. Just live your life. I'll live mine. We'll check in later and see how we feel. No talking every day. The words landed heavier than I expected. We hadn't gone a single day without talking in years. Even on our worst days, we always found a way to say goodnight. Now she wanted silence, as if space could fix what communication couldn't. I nodded, though my chest felt tight. Okay, I said quietly. If that's what you need. She leaned in for a quick hug, brief, careful. Then she grabbed her keys and was gone. The sound of the door closing echoed longer than it should have. The apartment felt too big. The couch is too wide. The quiet didn't feel peaceful. It felt like something was missing. Her mug was still by the sink, and her blanket was draped over the chair like she might come back any second. But she didn't. That night, I tried to keep busy, cooked dinner, watching a movie I didn't care about. None of it helped. Every corner of the place reminded me of her. When my phone buzzed, I grabbed it instantly, but it was just a delivery app. By the third day, I caught myself checking the time, wondering what she was doing, if she missed me at all. The answer felt obvious. If she did, she'd reach out. A week passed. I finally texted her. "Hey, hope you're doing okay." She replied hours later. "I'm fine. Just thinking." That's when the imbalance became clear. I was here. She was thinking. I told myself not to overanalyze. Maybe she truly needed space. But as the days passed, the silence started to feel less like healing and more like distance. Intentional distance. By week 2, the cracks widened. A mutual friend mentioned seeing Rachel at a cafe with someone. They didn't say who, just that it didn't look like a casual hangout. I tried to brush it off. People misread situations all the time. Still, the thought stuck in my head. I reached out to her sister one evening, just to ask if Rachel was doing all right. She was polite, but short. "She's fine, Jake. Just taking time." Then she changed the subject quickly. Something felt off. Not just in her tone, but in how carefully everyone around Rachel seemed to be choosing their words. Like, there was something I wasn't supposed to know. That night, I sat on our couch again, the same spot where she'd told me she needed space. The apartment was quiet, but my thoughts weren't. If this really was a trial separation, why did it feel so final? Why did I feel like I was the only one holding on to the word trial while she'd already decided on separation? I wanted to believe her and trust this process she said she needed. The night after that conversation with her sister, I sat on the couch again. Our couch, staring at the same door Rachel had walked out of 2 weeks ago. The silence felt heavier now. Not the kind that comes with peace, but the kind that carries questions you can't answer. I looked around the room, her blanket still on the chair, her mug still beside the sink. I'd left them where they were, maybe as a reminder, but now they just looked out of place. For the first time, I wasn't just sad. I was suspicious. If this was a trial separation, why did it feel so one-sided? Why did it feel like I was waiting, holding on, while she was moving on? I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe she really was thinking. Maybe she needed space to sort out her feelings. But deep down, something told me this wasn't about figuring things out. It was about testing something. Maybe testing what life was like without me. Maybe testing someone else. I didn't want to believe that. But once you plant that thought, it grows fast. The third week hit differently. I'd adjusted to the quiet, but this quiet was different, colder. There were no check-ins, no good morning, no I miss you. I stopped expecting them, which hurt more than not getting them. Every day felt like waiting for something that wasn't coming. One night, my phone rang. It was Mark, a mutual friend. He wasn't the type to stir drama, which is probably why my heart sped up when I saw his name. "Hey man," he said slowly. "You got a minute?" "Yeah, what's up?" He hesitated. "Listen, I don't know if I should even say this, but I saw Rachel last night." "Okay." She was at a restaurant. With a guy. He paused again. They didn't look like just friends. I didn't say anything. My mind was already racing. "Look, I could be wrong," he added quickly. "I just thought you'd want to know." I thanked him, told him I appreciated it, and hung up. I just sat there, staring at the floor. I wanted to tell myself it was a misunderstanding. Maybe it was a friend. Maybe she was just talking. But that voice in my head, the one that started whispering days ago, was now shouting. People don't ask for a trial separation because they're unsure. They ask for it because they've already made up their mind. They just need a softer exit. I leaned back, eyes on the ceiling, and tried to remember when I first felt her slipping away. Maybe it was when she started working later. Maybe when our talks got shorter. Or maybe it was the way she'd stopped reaching for my hand during walks. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. The rest of the night, I didn't move much. Just sat in the same spot, replaying every conversation we'd had over the last month. Every "I'm fine." Every "I just need time." It all sounded different now. By midnight, I wasn't angry, not yet. Just tired. Tired of waiting for texts that never came. Tired of wondering if she was thinking of me at all. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe she'd call tomorrow and tell me it was all in my head. But deep down, I already knew the truth. The trial wasn't about us. It was about her. About seeing if life on her own, or with someone else, felt better than life with me. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, letting my thoughts wander through every memory like pages in a book I'd already read too many times. Something about what Mark said wouldn't leave my mind. The way he'd hesitated. The way he'd said they didn't look like just friends. It matched the uneasy feeling I'd been pushing away since day one. So I started replaying everything, every shift, every small change. And then it clicked. 2 weeks before she'd asked for the trial separation, Rachel had changed her phone password. She'd never done that before. I remember teasing her about it. She'd just laughed and said, "Work stuff. You know how it is." Back then, I didn't think twice. But now it felt like a sign I missed. By morning, the fog of confusion had turned into clarity, painful, but clear. If this was really about space, why the secrecy? Why the new password, the vague answers, the silence? None of it lined up. I decided I needed to know, not out of anger, but for closure. So that afternoon, I drove to her sister's house, the place she said she'd been staying. When I pulled up, Rachel's car wasn't in the driveway. Her sister opened the door a few seconds after I knocked. Her smile looked forced. "Hey, Jake," she said quietly. "Hey," I replied. "Is Rachel here?" She froze for a moment, then looked down. "She's not here right now. Do you know where she is?" Her eyes flickered, then she sighed. "Jake, I can't get involved. Please." That was all I needed to hear. I nodded, forcing a small smile. "Got it. Thanks. Just understanding." I turned back to my car and drove home. The whole ride, I didn't play music, didn't call anyone. I just thought about how quiet the car felt, the same kind of quiet that had taken over the apartment. But this time, the silence didn't feel uncertain. It felt like confirmation. When I got home, I stood by the doorway for a minute, just looking around. The framed photos of us smiling, the souvenirs from trips we'd taken, the sticky notes we'd leave for each other on the fridge. Every piece of our life together looked like it was from a different story, one that had already ended. So, I did something I hadn't planned. I grabbed a few boxes and started packing. Not her stuff, mine. My books, my clothes, the little reminders that made this place feel like ours. Because it wasn't ours anymore. I wasn't doing it out of anger. I was doing it because I finally accepted what I'd been avoiding. She wasn't coming back. Not to me. Not to us. 2 days later, my phone buzzed. A message from Rachel. "Rachel, can we talk?" I stared at it for a while. My first instinct was to ignore it. But part of me still wanted closure. A real ending. Not this slow fade out. So I agreed. She came over that evening, wearing a soft expression that tried to look calm, but couldn't quite hide the nerves underneath. When I opened the door, she gave a small smile. "Hey," she said quietly. "Hey," I replied, stepping aside. She didn't sit down, just stood there, twisting her fingers slightly, like she wasn't sure how to start. "Jake," she said finally, "I didn't want to hurt you. I just needed clarity. I thought if I stepped away." Her voice trembled slightly, like she was rehearsing something she didn't fully believe. I didn't say anything, not yet. I just nodded, waiting. And then I saw it. The hesitation, the guilt, the part she hadn't said yet. Because this wasn't just about clarity. There was something else coming, something I'd already started to suspect. She took a slow breath. Her eyes darted away. Rachel stood by the couch, the same couch where she'd once asked for space, and looked at me with eyes that couldn't decide between honesty and guilt. I didn't say anything. I just waited. She took a shaky breath. "Jake, I've been seeing someone. It just happened. I didn't plan it." Those words didn't come as a shock. They came like confirmation. The quiet, the distance, the careful answers. It all finally made sense. I didn't yell. Didn't ask who he was. I just nodded. "It just happened, huh?" She nodded back, eyes red. "I never wanted to hurt you. I needed space to figure things out. But I met someone, and I got confused. I didn't mean for it to happen." I looked down at my hands, thinking how strange it was that the person who once shared everything with me was now standing in front of me as a stranger. "You could have just told me the truth, Rachel," I said quietly. "You didn't need to call it a trial separation. You just wanted out. You just didn't want to be the bad guy." She didn't argue. She didn't even try. Tears slid down her face, and she whispered, "I'm sorry, but apologies can't rebuild something that's already been dismantled piece by piece." I took a deep breath. "I'm not angry," I said. "I just wish you'd been honest from the start. You wanted freedom, now you have it." The room was silent except for the ticking clock on the wall. She wiped her eyes, looked around like she was memorizing the place, then said softly, "You've always been good to me, Jake. You deserve better." I nodded once. "I know." And that was it. No dramatic goodbye, no drawn-out conversation. Just two people standing in the remains of what used to be home, finally admitting it was over. After she left, I didn't break down. I didn't chase after her. I sat down, looked around the apartment, and felt something I hadn't in weeks, peace. Not because I wanted this ending, but because the guessing was over. That weekend, I packed the rest of my things. Not in anger, but with intention. I boxed up the reminders, our photos, her notes, the mug she loved, not to erase her, but to make space for myself again. Days turned into weeks. I started going to the gym again. reaching out to friends I hadn't seen in months. I booked a trip I'd always postponed. I started therapy, not to fix what she broke, but to understand why I kept holding on. Slowly, life began to move. One night, weeks later, my phone lit up. Her name on the screen. Just one message. Rachel, I miss what we had. I stared at it for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard, not out of temptation, but out of habit. Then I locked the phone and set it down. Because I finally understood something she didn't. Love doesn't work in half measures. You can't pause commitment and expect someone to wait in silence. You can't walk out for a bit and hope the world stops spinning. She wanted a trial separation. What she gave me was a trial in self-worth. When I passed the moment, I stopped waiting for someone who'd already left. I appreciate you watching till the end. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more content.